Rayforge 1.5 is out, and it's the biggest release since the creation of Rayforge. In this video I will show you the biggest new features. One addition is the new animated 3D simulator. So previously it was only a 3D preview, which was static. Now this has a simulation where you can use this slider to preview how the laser will actually move within the machine. Press play, this is automatic, and then you can look at all the details. This also works for rotary mode. So if I go back to the canvas and change the layer to enable rotary mode, and then I set the 0 point to my rotary axis, and let's say I use this workpiece so that it covers the surface of the cylinder, then I can go to the preview. And as you see, my rotary module was loaded. You can also see the cylinders right now not positioned perfectly, but I can change that by moving this up a bit, let's say approximately 23. Then I know that now the coordinate system is correctly defined. And I can press play here to preview that as well, and you can see it move. You can also see on this screen two other new features. One is that G5 support was added. This means Rayforge supports end-to-end keeping curves intact. So if you import an SVG, for example, and that has curves in it, Bezier Curves, then they will be preserved through the entire data pipeline. And if your machine supports G5, then you can directly use these commands. You can configure this in your machine settings under Advanced, whether your machine supports Bezier Curves. It also requires that you have a G-coded dialect that supports G5 commands. So I chose LinuxCNC because I know this has G5 support, and you see here the Bezier cubic command. Two new G-code dialects were added. One is for LinuxCNC with G5 support, and the other one is GRBL raster, which should give smoother movement when you're raster engraving. This may become the default in the future, but I left it separate for now. You can try it out, and if you have better results with it, let me know. At some point I may switch this to be the new default dialect. In the camera settings, the YUYV format support was added, which is uncompressed transmission, which is slower, but on some cameras it reduced some visual effects. So if you have problems with the default MJPEG format, try the YUYV format. Maybe that resolves the issue. You also see at the bottom the other new feature, which is that now you can use docs. So if I want this asset list to be shown in the same tabs as this first doc here, I can just drag it over. And now you can see that it's a tabbed interface, and you can choose any tab and drag it out of the dock to move it elsewhere. The asset browser is also new. It was previously the asset list up here in the corner, has moved into this bottom tab where you can see all the assets that are in your document. And you can create multiple instances of one asset. So this is not the same as a workpiece. This is the underlying file, let's say, of this workpiece. You can see there's one asset in here, and it has two workpieces that both depend on it. If I delete this asset, then both workpieces would disappear. Other assets are the stocks and sketches, and you can handle them in the same way. If I have a sketch here, then it shows up, and I can create an additional instance of this sketch here. The importer got a new option here for the layer import mode. Now you have three modes that you can select. Either map the layers to the already existing layers in the document, create completely new layers in addition to the layers that you already have in your document, or flatten it and import it to the existing layer. This brings us directly to the next improvement. This is performance. Previously, if you had very large workpieces, let's say something like 1 by 1 meters, or this example here has even 2 by 1 meters. If I reset the size, you can see it will become huge. This previously would have consumed something like 200 gigabytes of memory. Now it consumes only less than 8 for something like this. And this is a very large one with, due to the dotted lines that you have here, you have hundreds of thousands of vectors in it. And that would not have worked with the previous versions of Rayforge. Now you can do it with less than 8 GB, even in these extreme cases. It should work, and you can see here but it is also working in the 3D view. You can now search in the console using Ctrl F, click it, and the search window will open. This works in both the viewer and the G-code console. A new post processor was added. I enabled here the show travel moves. You can see the lines or it starts traveling directly to a laser line and starts cutting immediately at that point. This new post processor allows you to enable lead in and lead out. And if you enable this, then you see these blue lines here appear. So this allows the laser to speed up when it moves into the cutting line. And here it also slows down outside of the cutting line. So should give you better cuts with less burnt edges. The material test now engraves labels first, and it has two new settings for the label engrave power and label engrave speed. Also new are the no-go zones. You can see them here on the screen. I have configured in the machine settings an area that is a no-go zone. This is mostly a visual feature, but also when you export G-code and one of your cut lines or travel lines reaches into this no-go zone, then when I export, I will see a warning, no-go zone collision. You can still override it and export, but the warning will always be there. You can also make these 3-dimensional, but for now the collision detection is 2-dimensional only, so it doesn't use the geometry of your laser head. That may be a future extension. For now it only detects if one of the cut lines or travel lines reaches into this no-go zone. Mausrundung added a new machine profile for the MKS DLC 32. Many smaller improvements were also made and many bugs were fixed, so if you want to see the full list, check out the changelog on GitHub.